All right. Hello, everybody. I want to thank folks for coming tonight to join us for a conversation about property management, which is typically not the thing people want to jump on at 5:30 on a rainy Wednesday. But we are really excited to have a lot on deck for us to share with you as we've seen through 2024 and look ahead at what is coming for 2025. There's a lot to talk about, and one of the most important things to talk about is what we've been doing and what we're planning to do to make sure that we are serving you to the highest possible expectation. And we know that that takes a lot of work. So I'm going to contextualize this with a little bit of backstory. And that includes introducing Nest, what I'm calling Nest 16.0. We turned 16 this year. So Sweet 16 is what I'm going to call it. And it's sweet because we've done things this year we've been unable to do for quite a long time. And that means we've been able to study the depth of our work, the breadth of our work, and what it is we want to achieve as a company that cares not only for our clients and our residents, but our community and the team members that you see here today on this call. So I am, here we go, open to and comfortable saying that we fell behind. And I've been a proud business owner for these 16 years. And I'm proud of what we've done with Nest and for our clients and residents. But we've also had a lot of work to do. And I can offer, I am not the only one in the business world that's looking back, looking at our right now and looking forward to ask ourselves, how do we deliver the best possible experience for the people that are here on this call? And falling behind is not uncommon. Everybody think about what was lost for them during a pandemic, whether it was how they did their work, how they interacted with and created community and family. Everything has been disrupted. And some of us were able to adjust and do so quickly. Others did the best that we absolutely could to make sure that we were meeting needs in a very quickly changing world. And as we moved through that period of time, we understand that there were things that lingered that still needed attention, that people have been and continue to be tired with the world, but that us as a company have a secret sauce. And that means circling our wagons and asking ourselves, what makes Nest the most special? And how do we get to that core brand promise? And that's what we've spent the year working on. This is what we're going to talk about. So as the founder, owner of Nest DC, I want to share with you what we've really done in this last year to reinvent our company and reforecast what we can do for our client base. There are also a lot of considerations around what's going on in the marketplace and a lot of considerations for what's going on in the legal landscape. We have a new administration come in. DC is affected by things in a way that other cities are not. And I know that all of you who are clients and rental owners in this region, there's an additional sensitivity to how your property will perform and how our residents will experience the city. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to move into a review of our legal landscape with Pavan Kubchandani, who is our general counsel and chief administrative officer. Then we're going to move into a state of the nest. So when I say a lot about all the things that have changed, this is where you're going to get to hear about what we've done, the structural changes that we've made over the course of a year, that while you want them to make a difference immediately, they take time to implement. So I'm proud of what we've done in this year to completely restructure and refine the way that we do our work so that we can lean into a human experience and not one that is struggling with communication, that daisy chain of communication. We've dismantled it. We've unplugged everything. We're interested in creating a consistent, streamlined experience with a single point of contact. And we're going to be able to explain that as well. I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about different technology that we're using and deploying that will make our communication models much stronger. We're going to talk about different housing category and housing products we're working on, including co-housing and co-living, which I'm really excited about, and some general market updates and marketing updates. How are we positioning ourselves in the marketplace so that we're showcasing your rentals so that you know you are part of a portfolio that shines, and not just shines, but shines bright in the city as an organization, a company that really cares about the city we're serving. And that's a complete advantage, not only for us because we feel good about the work that we do, but it's an advantage for our clients as well. So we're going to wrap up with questions. We did ask people questions for their questions ahead of time, and that gave us a chance to answer a number of them within this slide deck itself. But we will also have opportunity for folks to drop questions in the chat. And then if there's anything that we haven't covered, I'll say always and often, you should reach out to have conversations so we can walk you through the questions that you have. I can't overemphasize that we intend to be a new Nest. And that is in your best interest. It's in my best interest. It's in the team's best interest, and it's in the city's best interest and this region's best interest, because doing good business is good business. And I think everybody wants some goodness right now in particular. That's where we're going to get started. And the first thing that I'm going to do is give you some background on the regional considerations. So I think we all want a little context on what is going on in Washington, D.C., what is going on with an expected presidential transition and administrative transition. There are a lot of things that I can offer we are not sure about. There's a lot of uncertainty with respect to how this administration is going to have an impact on this particular region. Home rule, which Washington, D.C. has enjoyed for about 50 years, is up in the air. Donald Trump has expressed that he's interested in revoking home rule for the District of Columbia. There are also a lot of additional considerations to mitigate that. Washington, D.C. needs a government, and taking away home rule is a impractical approach to making sure that the city is still thriving. And the city needs to thrive, in part because we will be celebrating our birthday. 250 years of being the United States. I don't think we want to dismantle our nation's capital ahead of that 2026 celebration. So the federal government will be paying quite a bit of attention to that, and will play a role in how the city is intersecting with federal objectives right now. And we're paying a lot of attention to that, and we're deeply civically involved so we can track and see what's happening with respect to trends in the city. So we will keep you updated. I think the fact that we are studying and paying attention in real time means that we can help prepare for whatever's to come, maintain our agility as a company, and help make sure that we're representing your best interests as clients and our owners and our residents as well. We want them to feel that they're having the great experience in the city and that they love where they live. And understanding how the city is changing and evolving and developing over time is part of our role in making sure that we're delivering on that promise. One possible negative is the federal job loss that has been promised by DOJA. We think it's possible 100,000 federal jobs could be at risk. And that would be a devastating thing financially for the DC region. Dismantling $100,000 federal jobs is not an overnight activity. And there will be a lot of people opposing the reduction in that workforce. And there are a lot of unions that will be in place that are working really hard to make sure that the work from home model is not removed, that hybrid work model. We expect an almost immediate request for return to work for the federal government. That will change dynamics in the economy and how the downtown region of Washington, D.C. in particular is functioning. So again, we expect that there will be disruption. We don't know yet what that's going to look like. DOJA at the moment is a Twitter account. So there's no appropriations for that department, and they do not have any ability at the moment to make law. So it's unclear how they will even operate. And I will also say with confidence, none of us want government waste. So there's not a misalignment in wanting efficiency in government. How they get there between the two of them is a question mark. And so while this is not without serious concern and consideration, we do want to manage the hysteria around the possibilities and also be realistic in that a lot of what has been articulated as an objective is hard to pull off. And there is a measure of comfort there as we try and operate in an environment that is changing in real time for us. And at the same time, you may be losing some jobs, but that doesn't mean you won't be gaining other jobs. So we'll see a lot more government contracting jobs. This region is known for the high caliber talent, the brain trust that's here. We will always attract that. Large companies pick DC and this DMV region for a reason. As we look at how this intersects with and impacts the leasing environment, the real estate environment, there are a lot of different considerations. We are, unlike most management companies across the region, very much affected in terms of our activity and residents coming and going based on election cycles. That's not just a change of from Republican to Democrat. It is just a natural part of what happens when you have a shift in administration, that you will have people coming and going from the city. People start to sort out where they want to live. They understand where their opportunities are. They know what their jobs are going to be. They know if they're going to do an internship, and they know if they're going to leave. So we know all of the political appointees in Washington, D.C. will be tendering their resignation in January. And all of those folks will be looking for new jobs. And there will be just sort of an interesting set of dynamics at play at one time in the city that will and can impact how housing unfolds. And we will be subject to those. We are sensitive to and impacted by those changes and fluctuations. But once again, we can't really predict where that's going. A lot of people have said, oh, I'm leaving the city. I don't want to be here. I have not seen those people move or make any plans to move when it comes down to it. I think there's some genuine sadness in the city that this isn't the kind of vibe and energy we were going for when we moved here. And we will see some people leave this region, and we will see some people come to this region. Our promise to you is that we're going to keep paying attention to this and continue to be involved in organizations that give us direct information early and often about how the city is going to be impacted, which is a chance for me to talk a little bit about some of the positive things and other shifts in the region and our city. We know we're going to have a lot of residential transition, where there will be things on the market. There will be things that come off the market. It's going to be interesting to watch that. I see people settling into leases. We see more leasing activity now, certainly, than we did before the election. We're seeing a lot more activity from potential clients right now. Our website traffic is up 200% from before the election. And that is telling us that we have a lot more people looking for property. So the point and the objective here for us as a company is we want people looking at your property. And we've worked really hard to position this company as one that has the most attractive properties in the city. So we want our portfolio to stand out as the only portfolio that you want to be part of. And we've worked really hard on our marketing this year, which I'll get to showcase a little bit for you, so you can understand how we're showing up as a company that is far more competitive when it comes to how we're attracting residents, when it may be harder to attract residents at different periods of time during this period of settling into a new administration. There are also things that can influence housing supply, and housing supply does impact how individual rentals perform in the city. If we have a lot of multifamily that is in the pipeline and delivering at the same time, that can influence pricing for individual condos. We'll talk a little bit later about residents really wanting, or actually it's probably even here, that residents are a lot pickier about what they want to live in. They want polished, buffed out spaces that feel like you're at a WeWork. That is the aesthetic that's expected, and it is not always the aesthetic that people are willing to deliver, to be honest. So there's always a balance there. And while we want to stay as competitive as possible, we're not a Bozzuto multifamily building with pools and pool tables and a dog walking service. That's not who we're going to be. But also a consideration when you think about how do you prepare your home for your next residence, there are going to be higher standards than ever before. And I always like to point out that I got into this business because I have always managed rentals. I worked on them myself. I painted the walls. I patched the roof. I fixed the Adobe. I did all the things because I like working with my hands. It's how I found myself in this business. But I'm also sensitive to the fact that my residents too want the brand new kitchen with granite countertops, and that you make choices about whether you say, okay, they don't need those countertops. this is a great space, then you adjust rent so that you're creating more affordable housing or housing that is not as expensive as they might have if they're going to get that granite countertop. So there are different ways of looking at these properties so that we're meeting the needs of all different kinds of residents as well. And high quality special spaces don't need to be the most expensive. So home is a lot about love and creating a space where people feel good and safe and where they can make their home. And that doesn't have to include a pool table and someone walking your dog. A lot of that comes with making sure that you're in a space that just feels right for you, where you can feel a sense of independence and security. And we're really invested in that for our clients and our residents. There are also changes in the city. DC has changed quite a bit. We pay a lot of attention to that. Northwest neighborhoods like Adams Morgan, Cleveland Park, Woodley Park, Columbia Heights, those were Petworth, Shaw, those were 14th Street corridor, hot, hot, hot. We always saw continuing year-over-year growth in performance in those areas. And I will say that while the 14th Street corridor continues to attract an epic amount of investment and is really becoming a higher end fashion district and a housing and a furnishing district. So all they're great. There are a lot of great stores on that block, and they've done a beautiful job of that. But we have seen a lot more development move into areas where the land was not restricted to residential use, which means essentially that there was more latitude for developers to build from scratch and not have to redevelop an area, but develop from scratch. So there's kind of a difference. That's why you're seeing Navy Yard so popular. So we're seeing warehouse districts that didn't have the same zoning restrictions around residential that were really attractive to developers who wanted to put together larger outdoor, pedestrian, urban, multifamily communities, basically. And those have done very well in the district. And we've seen bright spots with those new communities. And we see some that are struggling. H Street Northeast struggling. And that is because of crime, frankly, and because people are going to Navy Yard. And that you're seeing a lot of what people were attracted to in some areas that maybe had higher crime. And there are certainly more opportunities to do more things in other areas around the city. So we're seeing things change in that respect as well. And that will impact where people live, but there are also other ways to attract residents who don't need to be in the thick of it. And we want to make sure that we're presenting options and that people can find a home that works best for them and that not everybody needs to live in Navy Yard. So a couple things that also came up that I'm excited about. Monumental Sports made a deal to move to Virginia. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that deal, but I stopped breathing for many, many months when that was announced. Then I got really excited when they announced that it wasn't happening. There's one advantage to being in Washington, D.C. is that we can make decisions in like 3 days. Getting the state of Virginia to approve a whole new stadium, which would have been wildly disruptive, or a whole new sports complex, and the hoops that Ted Leonis, who owns the franchise, was just not interested in arguing over that and needed to make sure that they had a home for the Wizards and for the Caps. So there is a $515 million investment from the city that will go toward that exact effort. And we've also had programs like St. Elizabeth's, which is a redevelopment east of the river. We have the 11th Street Bridge Park, which will be an outdoor elevated bridge park that will be the crown jewel of the East Coast. So while there are challenging things happening in the district, I also see some developments and evolution that I feel really proud of as someone who's invested in this city. And I have been part of these conversations and proud that as a company, we're feeling represented in these conversations. We also have the opportunity to perhaps redevelop RFK, which has been a kind of rotting in place. While the city is obligated to maintain it, they do not have control over it. So we're hopeful that the Senate is able to pass a bill with a rider that gives us the chance to convert those 177 acres to build a new sports complex that has been designed and would include basically a negotiation so that some of the things that DC enjoys hosting will move to Maryland so that the region balances itself out with opportunity and that we make the best use of that area. So 177 acres of property that is in DC control will be much better for the city. and much better for the economy as well. So we're excited about that possibility. We will see in the next few days whether or not that is going to unfold. Things are looking favorable with the exception of one vote. I might email everybody and ask them to call someone about the one vote. We talked about return to work, breathing energy into downtown. That would change and shift and sort of remove some of these consistent and persistent barriers to commercial real estate recovering and the office environment recovering in downtown Washington, D.C. Again, with the development of Monumental Sports, that $515 million complex, all of that will certainly change the way we're relating to investing in and spending time in Gallery Place downtown area. And then finally, crime rates are down. They're down 16% from pre-pandemic levels. A lot of people have been critical, fairly so, of crime in the district. And I will not lie, it has not been good. It is much better. And looking at these numbers, I think should offer a measure of comfort that we found a path forward and we continue to work on that path. There could be a bright spot in having a new administration get more involved in making sure that the city is safe. And there are federal resources that can be bundled with and tied to what's happening in our Washington, D.C. police force. So that is essentially a snapshot of how we see things unfolding, which is not a crystal ball, but it should inspire confidence in knowing that we are paying attention to this and we're thinking about how all of your investments knit into this this regulatory environment, real estate considerations, and then how they feed into what we are doing as a company from a legislative monitoring perspective. So I'm going to pass it on to Pavan, and I realize I'm moving quickly, which is okay because you can watch it again and again and again. We're going to send a copy of this presentation to all of you, and you will be able to spend some more time reading through what we've put together. So don't worry, you can watch it every weekend if you'd like to. All right, Pavan, if you want to talk about a little bit about the legislative work, I'll advance the slide.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I just want to touch base a little bit on landlord-tenant law and what we're seeing right now with the DC Council. You all know that DC has always been quote unquote a tenant-friendly jurisdiction. That's great. During the pandemic, the DC Council passed a number of laws that were even more tenant-friendly and sort of were under the guise of tenant protection. I would argue that it was a short term, it was short-sighted, and it may have protected one or two, not one or two. It may have protected, individual tenants at the time. But what happened was, it has become just so difficult to hold tenants responsible for paying rent. Okay, it has become so difficult to evict a tenant, whereas evictions before the pandemic were quote unquote hard in DC. It would like take 3 to 5 months. Now, our landlord tenant attorney was in court this morning, and they're setting trial dates for August of 2025. So what that means is that it is taking 8 months to a year to get tenants out, tenants that are not paying rent, to get them out of an apartment of a unit. And sometimes you can get the tenants to pay, right? You can get them to pay rent into the court registry, into the escrow. Not always anymore. And so um, property management companies and small housing providers and advocates have been pushing back against this for years, and it's been like sort of like talking into the abyss. The DC Council just didn't care. What happened earlier this year is that the big affordable housing providers, the ones that build big buildings, came to DC and said, "Look, this is not going to work anymore. We are not, our business model won't allow us to have these tenants rack up these tens of thousands of dollars in unpaid rent." And DC Council Phil Mendelson in particular heard them, or I should say he's heard everything, but he's listened to them, and started to roll back and I think that a screen just got put onto the screen, so we'll move that screen out of the way. The DC Council,
sorry, folks.
yeah. And so the DC Council now has started. It has started to roll back some of these quote unquote COVID era tenant protections, making it to just sort of dip their toe, and it's making it a little bit easier for landlords to hold tenants responsible. It's a signal, and it was very intentionally messaged from Mayor Bowser as a signal to the private sector that we hear you and that we want your investment in DC. Um, let's wait and see. We're watching it. We look at this every day. But what we're hoping is we'll see a swing back to a more balanced. We're all for tenant protections. We're all for tenants' rights, right? But there needs to be a balance. We are out there every day working for that balance and trying to do our part on behalf of you, again, as Lisa said, to contribute to this great city, this great region. So you can always reach out to me if you have any questions about landlord tenant issues. One thing I do want to point out, we had a question come in before, is like, well, what can you do, right? Given that, what can you do? And it's what we've always done. Okay, we've always tried to settle out with tenants. Sometimes people refer to it as cash for keys or whatever. We've always tried to come to a place where the landlord and the tenant can amicably part, and everybody moves on. That has always been the way we try to mediate issues, and it's how we really recommend going forward. Using a hammer, it doesn't work. Our hammer is it's not a hammer. It's like one of those fake little toy hammers. So we don't have much right now. So anyway, I'll turn it back to you, Lisa.
Thank you. Helpful, and also, a great opportunity for me to point out that Pavan, as our new Chief Administrative Officer and longtime General Counsel, gives us a chance to consider all of these factors and have strategy around the best way to tackle a complicated regulatory environment is super helpful. And for all of us, internally and externally, it's a really important investment that we made in the company. I'm going to talk for a moment about how rentals are affected. And I think I'm backwards. There we go. How are rentals affected right now? We always know that there will be a demand for high quality rentals in the district. So the market could be tanking, and there will still be people that want to rent high quality properties in the city. That will never go away. I picked this business for a good reason. There will always be property. There will always be people who need property, and there will always be people who need to maintain and touch that property. And we cannot be replaced by technology, and we don't want to be replaced by technology. So we believe, and I will believe to the toes, this is a stable industry. But that does not mean we don't need to be strategic and thoughtful about how we're positioning our portfolio and making sure that we're keeping the best interests of our clients in mind, but also making sure our clients are staying competitive, and that we want that for you as well. We are seeing inventory changes that will change demand and impact pricing and days on the market. We talked about the fact that our expectations for our residents continue to increase. And I'm not sure that, Pavan touched on this, but we do have a new attorney general who's been aggressive with property management companies and really looking for ways to be punitive with small format landlords. I don't know where this interest comes from. We do know that because residents are pickier than ever, they are more likely to escalate. And they're more likely to escalate to Better Business or escalate to the Attorney General, which is a new position in Washington, D.C. And while we appreciate and advocate for consumer rights, we also know that it is a strategy used to leverage their understanding of how the system works. And so I think that the Attorney General has been there have been a lot of flags from residents across the region. We are fully compliant, but we are still concerned that there is an interest in the Attorney General being punitive. So we are going to continue to track that, and it is a consideration for us. There are a lot of legal considerations and regulatory considerations that have taken a lot of our time. There are ways that we were able to operate in the before times that did not include deciding how you were going to respond to an unexpected subpoena from the Attorney General. And that is disruptive to the business. And we're working as hard as we can to be as proactive as we can be. One of the reasons why you probably see that they really have a lot of information about what's going on, because we want to be able to influence this kind of policy. So our goal is to be seen as the voice at the table around how public policy is being considered and implemented in this region, so it's more favorable to our small format landlords. This is an important part of the housing mix for Washington, D.C., and it needs to be represented. And that's exactly what we're intending to do. So that's a consideration for your rentals. We're going to continue to update you on this. And I say that, and I'm excited to move into this next state of the nest, because it's going to highlight what we've done to, I think, assure you that we are invested in the promises that we're making. We can't make that promise true in a moment, but I can assure you we've spent an entire year doing everything we can to make sure we've rebuilt this bird. And I tell people that I took the bird and I just shook it by the neck. And we said, what do we need to do differently here? How do we peel all of these feathers off and then refeather it so it's exactly in our vision? So it's meeting the needs of our clients, that we're nimble, that we're in tools that help us grow, that we're organized in a very client-forward, relationship-forward manner. We want to lean into the human experience as much as possible. And in order to do that, we really had to reconsider and reevaluate every single part about the way that we do our business. And I'm excited because I know in 2025, we're prepared to soar and deliver a service that is quite different from one that I think people have experienced, which is communication's been tricky. We know we haven't gotten back to people and we've made mistakes. We've dropped the ball. We've passed you from one person to another. That's not where we're headed. We are headed to a single point of contact. We are headed to having a relationship manager who manages homes. And that means being a lot more intentional, proactive, empathic, and caring about the relationship we have with our clients, because we need you to care for the city and the people that live in these homes and to create great jobs for people and make a difference. And I'm going to tell you about how we've tackled that work so you can have some insight and visibility into what we're working on. We have a three-phase effort that we've been engaging in throughout the year. The first thing we did is to study our people. We don't have a strong property management company and service unless we have great people. So we have basically unpackaged, audited, considered, studied, and thought about every aspect of how we work with our internal people, from how we promote jobs to how we define our what we call flight plans or job descriptions, employee engagement and surveys, new review cycles, all new flight plans for our team members that are clearer, more discreet, and more client-focused. This work is underscored by both training programs, which will continue month over month, week over week. We will be ensuring that our team is nimble and adept in the tools that we've given them and clear on what it is that we want them to deliver when it comes to a one-of-a-kind experience for you. I can't overstate the amount of time and effort all of these pieces have taken, but this is where we needed to start because it's the heart of the work. These are the people that care for your property. These are the people that need to partner with you. And that's what we're committed to as we move into 2025, not just as a, hey, we're going to start doing this. There is so much that has already been done. We have transformed the way that we're doing this work with more to be done and an absolute commitment to making sure that we will complete these efforts and that people will see almost immediate differences. We've got culture and community. I don't know that everybody's been able to track the whole story, but we know that we care. The city knows we care. And as we continue to fine tune our core services, we want to be seen as the company people want to be associated with because we do care the most. And it may not feel like that when a communication gets missed or when you get moved from one person to the next. But I can tell you that the energy and the focus that's gone into this work will solve for the things that have been frustrating for our clients because we care about you and we care about you being really happy with our work, which is really the phase 2 of this effort, which is very much underway. And that is us focusing on our product and our service work, reminding our team, we are here for pride of work. Everybody wants to leave the day winning. Nobody likes work that just happens at them. Solving for mistakes is very time consuming and frustrating for people. We're redesigning the company not to figure out how to better solve for problems, but to avoid them in the first place. So we know we're always going to have tricky things to solve for, but how we approach our design as a company so that we have as few mistakes as possible is how we've reoriented and restructured the way we're going to be doing things. We have new technology that we've introduced that is 100% intended to create a more streamlined communication model, shared inboxes, assigned tasks, a lot more transparency and visibility into what your colleagues are doing so that things don't get missed. Implementing, choosing, interviewing, evaluating, implementing that tool was a 9-month process. So we are now in the tool. You will start seeing that tool. Jen's going to show you some slides from that tool, but that plugs into Lead Simple and really, really transforms the way that we're able to manage our communications, and really gives our home managers / relationship managers the opportunity to handle the management, the relationship, and that experience versus just trying to make sure things keep moving. You'll see a little bit more about that, and when Jen gives an update on the work going on. We've also got this. We're a lot more interested in making sure you're hearing from us, seeing us, learning from us, and able to give us feedback. We're offering these town halls. This is not the first and the last. There will be regular town halls. You will hear from us quarterly through a newsletter that's designed just for you. You will hear from us when things in real time are happening. Has something happened legislatively? We know that there's some omnibus legislation being considered around safe homes, and whether or not residents will be able to ask for particular security equipment. These are the kinds of things that we want to make sure you know, we know, and that we're taking care of them, and we're going to make sure we're managing your risk, but that when you do have increased risk, you know that we're here to help you figure out what you need to do. We're harmonizing and synchronizing our marketing work with our brand promise, because that's what's best for all of you, as our portfolio should shine in ways that others do not, and syncing our leasing to our sales environment so that we're more in touch with the properties and that we're more in touch with the clients is a high priority for us. I've been calling this fine nesting. What we want for our clients is to have a single point of contact, and that person is responsible for making sure that the experience is excellent. Whatever is going on behind them, if the water doesn't come on time or somebody doesn't pick up that plate, they need to solve for that. The client and the diner does not need to worry about it. We'll never be perfect. I'll say that every day, but I will say we always want to be perfect. We're aiming for the best possible experience. This work has been like climbing Mount Everest, and totally worth it. And I know to my toes that it's the right work that we're doing now to make sure that we're a company that we can all be proud of, whether you're a resident, a client, a neighbor, or a team member. So we'll show a few of those things. Again, you're going to see a lot more from us. And you're also going to see a lot more in terms of how we are supporting our core services. So as we move into this fine nesting experience, what needs to be true for our team members in order for them to be positioned for that absolute success? Our job is to support them. They're the heart and soul of the company, and we're going to introduce them in just a few minutes. And other things that we're doing to, I think, change the way we are and have been bogged down by other things. We sold a company last year. We have streamlined and reduced a lot of programming that we didn't think was creating value for our client base. We're a lot more focused, and we have changed every single tool that we work in favorable ways. So we've moved to different HRIS systems. We're in new information management systems. We're in new communication tools. And all of those things have been happening in the background to make sure that we're ready to stand up right here, right now, and say, I promise you, this company is changing. And I feel really good about that. So those are the 3 phases that we're in. The diligence and discipline around that work I'm proud of it. And I think the people on this call, specifically leadership, has done everything we can to rebuild and reframe this company in a way that we can all feel proud of, clients included. So it takes a flock to be a nest. And this is when we get a chance to introduce those home managers, relationship managers that we started with. So I'm going to turn this over to our Chief Property Management Officer, Jennifer Green, Jen Green, and she's going to talk about our team. Or actually, no, I take it back. Grace Langham is going to talk about the team, because I forget that Jen's voice, which is not her ears, but her voice is not working as well as it should. And we're going to save a little time. So Grace, take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, as Jen was at a technology conference last week, she brought home, a bug, which is not what you want to see. So I will be your voice today, Jen. As Lisa said, the home managers really are the heart and soul of our company. People has always been our secret sauce. So while processes and tools change, the people who are managing our homes and managing the relationships is what either makes us great or is where we risk missing the mark. I'm going to introduce you to our 4 home managers who haven't been really formally introduced as a whole to our clients. And I'll pop you up on the screen, though I won't ask you to put you on the spot. First up, we've got Claudia, who has been in this industry for over 11 years. She was born in El Salvador, but raised in DC and still calls DC her home, down in Southwest, right, Claudia? Is that right? Yeah. Well, the smallest quadrant, but represent. Before getting into this wild field, Claudia was a preschool teacher, so we share that in common. And those skills really come in handy when you're working with residents and homeowners, and just being able to really, explain things thoroughly, communicate, and ultimately protect all of your biggest assets, right? What gets Claudia up in the morning? She enjoys that part of the work, connecting with people, ensuring they have what they need to call their home, their space. And when she's not doing that, which is, weekends, evenings, Claudia likes to spend time outdoors and just get to spend time with her family, which luckily mostly live in the city, right, Claudia? That's wonderful. So meet Claudia. If she's your home manager, you've seen her name in your inbox. Now you can put a face to a name. And next up, we've got Grace Woolen, who is joining us on a day of PTO. So thank you, Grace. Grace and I obviously share a namesake, Grace W, Grace L. You're more likely to be hearing from Grace if you're a homeowner these days. But she has been in the industry for over 16 years. Prior to this, grew up really in a salon in Reading, Pennsylvania, grandma's salon, who also shares our name, and has been, as you do when a business is in your family, has been kind of working that since she was 5. Hopefully you were getting tips, Grace. She made a switch, obviously, from that, and her entry point into this industry was leasing, and she's kind of never looked back. Just slightly busy at home with 4 beautiful kiddos and a rambunctious dog. I think family is what gets a lot of us up in the morning. And if you can manage that number of young boys, I think you can handle anything that is thrown at you in a day of property management. When she is not managing your home, I hope you got to do some of this today, Grace. She is, enjoying a good book or movie. Grace is a people person. It's why she's in this industry. So she is just out there spreading the love, spreading the sunshine, and we are lucky to have her. So thanks for joining, Grace. I hope you can log off soon and you had a lovely day. Next up, we've got Isaac, who's on the call. Let me find you, Isaac, and spotlight you. Isaac, Claudia, and Grace all joined our team over 2 years ago, around the same time. And Isaac got into the property management industry 12 years ago. I believe you were working at a front desk. Is that right, Isaac? And was recruited into our industry and kind of has never looked back. Prior to that, he, was working both in marketing and as an operations manager. And so lots of transferable skills there, and comes with like a wealth of multifamily experience. Isaac was born in Ghana and really hates the winter. We were talking about this the other day in the office. It's always too cold this time of year. So we are, trying to up that heat at the office for you. Coming from a small town, Isaac is is motivated by providing like great housing opportunities for people and finding a place that people can really call their own home. Property management really strikes that lovely chord between helping ensure that residents can enjoy their space and helping protect your biggest asset. So when he's not managing your home, loves to hike in Great Falls, watch the sunrise. That's ambitious, Isaac. You won't see me up at that time of day optionally. And go to the gym, read, and just, do things that help spark that creativity, and new ideas. So if you have not had the chance of a face-to-face with, Isaac, Claudia or Grace, I'm glad you get to see their faces here. Last but not least, we don't have Alexa on the call, but we'll pop her up quickly unless I missed her name in the meeting room. Alexa's been in property management the shortest amount of time, but that doesn't really have any bearing on how much she has learned. That girl has climbed the learning curve of property management faster than most do. So prior to this, she was working in the home and life insurance industry, and what Alexa loves to do on the weekends is and time off is travel, gives her a chance to see the world, see different cultures, and see new perspectives. She's also, you can see here her favorite snack is an apple, which I think is shared with Claudia, who's a fruit. We've got some healthy home managers here. And is very mindful of health. And what gets her up in the morning, similar to the rest of our home relationship managers, is working with people, making sure they have a great experience, both where they live, and making sure that our properties stay up to date and that our customer service and problem solving is on point. So lovely to get the chance to introduce our wonderful home managers. I know back in the day, we had a lot more face-to-face, and so hopefully this bridges a little bit of that divide, screen to face. But as Pam said, never hesitate to reach out. Our team is really working around the clock to make sure that your property is protected. I know we're at five minutes till 6:30, Lisa. I don't know if we want to zoom through to some marketing updates real quick.
Yeah, I will do that. And then why don't we land on Lead Simple?
Yeah, sounds great. And
Or
we
I can do it
in our future town halls.
Yeah. And we will be purposing this for our blogs, which is actually a good reason to share with you now our marketing and brand efforts. We've spent the entire year revisiting and refining the brand. Every word on the website has been rewritten. We've spent a lot of energy and time in SEO and other digital advertising efforts to make sure that our portfolio is showing up as looking sharp and looking very polished. You'll see that we have activity across almost every channel, from Meta to LinkedIn to our weekly newsletters. Those go out to 11,000 people. And there's some open rates that have been in the 70s. So we know what we're producing is what people want to read. And we're excited about having content that is very dynamic and quite different from what you'd experience with another property management company, or actually just most companies, to be honest. Lots of video on what it means to maintain a property well. A lot of people have a hard time understanding what it means to make sure that we're maintaining property, my own included. This is the newsletter that we have developed for all of you to make sure you're staying in touch with and up to date on what we're working on. You also start to see more just real-time updates for you to understand how we're making sure your interests are at our heart. We've got emergency maintenance efforts we're sharing with people, and we're excited about our co-living practice, which we'll share a little bit more about, if not tonight, but in another session. You can see that we have a blog that's active as well as a YouTube channel. All of these are places where people can get more access to your portfolio. It also improves our SEO substantially, so that when people are searching and querying properties, those are our properties that are going to show up first. You can see that we are eagerly creating opportunities for our portfolio and your properties to shine and show up. The blog offers opportunities for you all to get more content. We have a client resources page that's been created so that we can remind you of things like this, tie you back to our newsletters, and then purpose things like this for blogs. And I honor and care most about transparency. I can tell you that half of this slide deck was in the staff meeting slide deck yesterday, because we want you to be harmonized with what we're internally and externally. These things should be harmonized. This is how we're showcasing properties, which looks great. We have the Nest Best, where we feature properties in the weekly newsletter, and those go out every Thursday. And we optimize those based on when open rates are highest. We've redesigned the website. We've redesigned our logo. It's a slightly different color. It's autumn pink, if you didn't know. And we're excited about what we've been able to do in terms of our visibility. We've got wins from the Washington Business Journal. We have made different lists. We've been noted as companies that care the most. But what really matters to us is the experience our clients and residents are having. We're getting reviews that are a lot more reflective of the changes that we've been making over time. Again, I'm going to send these to you so you can read through them. We're deeply invested in making sure that we're delivering the experience that we're most proud of, and that's most wanted and needed. You will never make everybody happy all the time. It's the one true statement of all time. But we will try and make sure that we are receptive to and understand what it means to create an experience that feels good to people. And then finally, I'm going to just touch quickly on our Birdseed Home Equity Justice Foundation. In 2020, we started Birdseed, which gives no strings attached down payment grants to first-time BIPOC home buyers. That took on a little bit of a life of its own. We have a volunteer executive director, and it has spun into its very own nonprofit. But I'm really proud to say that that organization has been able to allocate $770,000, and we will continue to do that work as part of the Greater Washington Community Foundation, which is now funding us. So this is emblematic of the value system that we have as a company. And I encourage all of you to get familiar with it. But what I'd like to do most of all is earn your trust and remind you that we do care the most, and we care for you and the residents, the city, and this team that is on this call. I don't say anything unless I mean it 100%. So this was intended to help build that trust, remind you that we are here and paying attention to everything we possibly can, and that the way we've organized our work is really intended to make sure that you feel you have that close, personal, human experience, that the technology that we've created is what we lean back on so that we can lean into the human experience, which is what you all deserve, and frankly, what the world needs more of right now. We're at time, and Sheila, we have not met, but your face has kept me so at ease this entire presentation. You have such a nice presence. I'm like, I'm just going to look at Sheila. She's going to make me feel good about this. So we can take questions after this session, meaning we will reach back out to everybody that has been on the session and answer questions that we can after the fact. And we will also make sure that this full presentation was available after the fact. We did aggregate the questions that were asked ahead of time. We will ask for any additional questions. And then what we will do is we will go in and answer every single one of those questions, and we will share that out as well, even the ones that were hard. And because we're happy to share that there's always more work to do.
And Lisa, a handful of people I know the settings are just you can only message the host, but Sheila, double shout out to you. Thank you for saying this has been helpful. I know you're down in Richmond and wondering what's going on in the city. Brian is sharing this was helpful as well. So, eager to hear if this hit the mark on what you all are looking for. It sounds like early feedback is yes. And what we didn't get to today, hopefully Jen will have a voice next time in February. We'll be sending out an invite to the next town hall if you'd like to join us on some new topics or repeats if it makes sense and was helpful. So thank you all. Have a wonderful night. Thanks, Jason. And look for this in your inbox if you want to revisit it. See y'all later. Thank you.